Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Checking in on the MJ sector, so there were some plays out there today in both directions. For CGC, we had some pre-market action. Bruce was on CNBC. We also had them put out a little news release, but that news was known already from those who follow the licenses coming out. So in the end, it ended up being a daily inside bar. There was a bit of a short squeeze, but that was pre-market when volume doesn't really matter as much, or when a little bit of volume goes a long way. So some shorts had to panic there. And we now have a daily inside bar. Yesterday, the daily inside bar broke bearish. If we see a break of 26.81, we're looking right back at the low of 26.46. If the bulls break bullish, anything under 34.34 is just a daily lower high. So it's just a question of, are we going to see a short-term bounce? Anticipating a daily lower high is going to happen, or have we yet to find a bottom? And that question is likely going to be answered tomorrow. Crom saw a little bit of green today, but it gave it back. By the end of the day, ended up closing in the red. And TradingView is being very slow to load my charts here, so bear with me while we wait in the meantime. But we've got a low of 1170. That is still holding, but we're right on top of it. So again, it's just a question of, can we put a stop to the bleeding? And as of right now, Cron is not giving much confidence. After 1170, there is a lack of support until 11 psychological. And if we break 1170, the daily RSI will just be getting oversold. Hourly downtrend has been very clear, with the bulls really unable to do anything as far as getting any follow through. Look at the daily exponential resistance, or the hourly, I should say. 4 days in a row now, unable to get over those levels, and continued rejections. ACB, daily bear flag still possible. If this inside bar breaks bearish tomorrow, the odds of a daily bear flag increase significantly. Bulls have to get over 620 at this point to negate the possibility of the daily bear flag. And if they do, still just looking for a daily lower high compared to 674. So pretty much it's a scenario for these names where best case, we're just looking for a daily lower high, and worst case, we're heading to lower lows. So that keeps all the pressure on the bulls. It keeps the shorts extremely comfortable. And again, if we don't change daily trends, which we haven't done on these major names in 4 or 5 months, the bears have no reason to cover any positions. Someone asked, what would it be like if we were in the opposing scenario and it's just bulls never taking profit? Well, if we're in a daily uptrend for 4 months, there's no reason for bulls to exit positions. If every time we consolidate, we set a daily high or low, bulls are partying. And right now, that's what the bears are doing, because the bulls have done nothing. Someone pointed out that my quote is, the bulls have to punch the bear in the mouth. And it's been 5 months of wild swings and misses by the bulls. APHA. So again, just a weak little bounce here. Anything under 696 is just a lower high. And it's just a question of, can we see a bit more follow through towards that resistance, or are we going to roll over and head back down to 583, our recent low? TLRY, low of yesterday broke, but just barely. So let's see if that's going to give us a falling wedge pattern, because a falling wedge is breaks of support with a lack of follow through, and it's a bullish reversal pattern. And as of right now, you could make the argument that we're forming something along those lines. So let's draw this out real quick. Not enough touches of these lines for them to be confident building. Don't like that one. I would want to hit the more recent price action. So it's worth watching. We could see a bull bounce, still just set a lower high and still stay in this tightening range. When we get a bounce, we're just looking for a daily lower high and a daily oversold bounce. If we see a bear break of 28.72, lack of support, and we're heading down towards that all-time low of 2010. Hexo. So Hexo bulls would have to hold 415 and break 460 to shift this momentum back in their favor. But at this point, we're on the verge of confirming the daily downtrend with a lower high, and it will be a lower low if we break 415. And that will have us looking back down at 4 and then 373 as our nearby support levels. So the Hexo bounce did get some nice follow through initially, but very quickly fading. And if we look at the weekly time frame, It's up to the bulls to change the weekly trend at this point by holding 373 and breaking 495. Labs is still very weak. The daily time frame lower high at 630, and we're close to confirming a daily downtrend if we see a bear break of 569. It's a double bottom at this point. That's actually not updating today's action. Not sure why that is. So it looks like Labs did get the clear bear break, daily lower high and lower low. So we're now in a daily downtrend, and we zoom out to the weekly, and the bulls have to form a weekly higher low compared to 403. Tons of space to work with, but after the double top at the all-time high, we are back, pulling back. And if we look at the 2-week time frame, looks like an equilibrium. High, low, lower high, scouting a higher low compared to 403. VFF, key support approach being tested. We've got $12 as a must-hold level. We formed a daily lower high similar to Labs. And if we drop down and break $12, it's a lower high and lower low, which means zoom out because weekly consolidation is underway. We will anticipate a weekly higher low to form compared to 889, but we're on the verge. If $12 breaks, weekly consolidation underway. T-God, still holding on to this bounce attempt. We're certainly expecting a lower high to form compared to 369. It's just a question of, has the top of the bounce been set or not? If the inside bar from today were to break bearish, then the daily top has been set. If it breaks bullish, then the top has not been set yet. But again, just anticipating a daily lower high. Yet another name where the question is, are we going to form a daily lower high, or are we heading back down to test the recent lows? Fire is standing out. So I didn't cover Fire the past couple days because I am not trading these penny stocks. But the most notable thing about Fire for me is, number one, the daily trend change, which our major Canadian MJ names have not been able to do for 5 months. And number two, increasing bull volume. When is the last time that we've seen 3 green days in a row on increasing bull volume on an individual name? And the answer is, I don't know. But it's been a while. Anything, if we lose the hourly uptrend on Fire, our temporary top will be set. So I would say if we break 167 tomorrow, the odds that our top is set will increase a good bit, and we'll look for a daily higher low to form around in the 150s, ideally for the bulls. Bull cross of the daily exponential moving averages for the first time in many months, and the bulls want to hold those levels on a back test for a higher low. Keep in mind the weekly time frame still has some work to do. I personally would consider anything under 185 a weekly lower high. So we will need a weekly trend change for this move to be prolonged, but the daily time frame and the volume is absolutely notable. IIPR had a nice play. We've been watching this one in the chat room as it was a tight range yesterday. Highlighted it live pre-market for the potential of that break. Why do I care about this tightening daily range? We see tightening ranges all the time. The preceding action. The preceding action is coming off an all-time high and looking for a weekly higher low to be set. So if that's my premise, if that's the scaffolding of the trade longer term, I know that this daily equilibrium breaking bullish is more meaningful. If we're in a weekly downtrend, who cares? We're just looking for a weekly lower high. We're looking for a weekly higher low on IIPR. It's a completely different story. The bull break was at 107.90. Those who wanted to be a bit more cautious waited for 109.80. Those who wanted to be real cautious waited for 110.52. We broke all of those levels, but we got a little bit extended. The hourly RSI was up over 80, and we're consolidating now on the hourly. If we lose the hourly uptrend, we zoom out to the daily, and a higher low has to be set compared to 101.69. Just like the long-term pattern helped us look for the bull move, it's going to help us look for the bear move because we are anticipating a weekly lower high compared to 139.53 is the most likely scenario. Kira Leaf, trying to build a base of support. Anything under 976 is just a daily lower high. So even if the bulls build this base and see some upside, still a lot of work to do to break the daily lower high pattern because anything under 976 is just a daily lower high. Support is 869 and 839, and bulls have work to do. If we can break 976, we have our weekly higher low very clearly established, but that is currently 10% away. C-Web, weakness today closing at the low of the day. If we drop down and break 2308, that's going to be a red flag. It'll still be a weekly uptrend, but the size of the pullback will start to be concerning. So the bulls want to hold 2308 and break that top of the bounce we just saw of 2680 to change the daily trend and tell us the weekly higher low has been established at 2308. If we can't change that daily trend, we're still in weekly consolidation mode. Let's see what this monthly looks like. Monthly equilibrium is absolutely possible, and for the vast majority of individual names where we're looking for monthly higher lows to still form, the size of the pullback we've seen this summer would have us looking for monthly lower highs. And if we look at ACB, prime example, if we see a higher low on the monthly compared to 458, I'm going to be looking for a lower high on the monthly compared to 1032, as that is 80% away or whatever it is. So it looks like CWeb led the way for the bulls in the USMJ space, but it's also entirely possible a monthly lower high is being set, and then we have to come down and form a monthly higher low into the fall. All depends on what the sector as a whole does, but wouldn't be shocked if that were to happen. IAN, pull back a little bit today. Bulls buying the dip. Doesn't mean anything. We can bounce, and anything under 395 is just a lower high. So we can essentially go 18% and still be in a daily downtrend. At this point, the bulls are just trying to defend support, which they are successfully doing the past couple days. Have to break the pattern of a lower high every day the last 5 days, and then we're just looking for a daily lower high compared to 395. Earnings yet to come out on IAN. MedMen, daily equilibrium looks more likely than not. 228 support, 293 resistance, higher low at 241, lower high at 284. And if we pull back here, we're going to look for the bulls to try and hold 241 to stay in this tightening range at least a few more days. TRUL all out dump. So again, lack of support. Who knows if those shares that got unlocked are dumping? It certainly wouldn't surprise me. I did end up playing this bounce, and I started the morning by looking at this chart and saying, I have no interest in this play. And the reason was the daily RSI was not oversold. By the low of the day, the daily RSI was just getting oversold, but it was volume that shifted my perspective. And I said, this looks like climax volume. And I looked at the hourly, and it was the hourly this morning where I said, well, that's one of the highest hourly volume candlesticks that we've seen in months. So I made an entry. I played TRULF, so it's going to be hard for me to... Let's see, I made an entry right here on TRUL. One entry, I was going to make a second position if $10 broke on this same pullback. 5-minute RSI crushed, 15-minute hourly crushed, 4-hour RSI getting pretty oversold, daily RSI just getting oversold, but it was the extreme nature, and it was the 15-minute time frame that had me really confident. The volume was pouring in, watching for the climax potential, but just the lack of any bounce attempt. If we had a 15-minute bear flag mixed in here on the morning, I wouldn't have taken the bounce. But because it was a straight shot down and knowing where all the other time frame RSI levels were, it made me confident to at least initiate scaling in. So I ended up with just under a day maker. Actually, it ended up being a day maker as I entered there. Never got to a point where I entered a second position. Sold. Actually, I got filled right here on the US side where only a third or a quarter of my order was filled. And patiently waited, and then sold for the day maker. At this point, we're just looking for an hourly lower high to be set. Anything under 1137 is a lower high. If we can't break 1137 tomorrow morning, we'll need a higher low and a higher high for this bounce to have any follow through. If we change the hourly trend, we zoom out to the daily chart and we just look for a lower high compared to 1330. OH, red flag. Bull break of resistance 2 days in a row with zero follow through both days. First day, yesterday, we broke resistance by 2 pennies and then went red. And then today we broke resistance by 4 pennies and then dumped. And when I say dumped, I mean we dumped. That is everybody saying, well, bulls are really struggling to get over this level. I'm taking my profit now because the sector is weak and it was a rush to the exit. So the daily uptrend is still intact. Anything above 696 is just a higher low. I do still have a small position in OH. I will exit it when the daily uptrend is lost, but I'm anticipating at least initially 696 will hold the first attempt of support. Sector still. Sector is very weak still. And we're watching for oversold bounces to try and get follow through on CGC and TLRY. Again, daily lower highs. The daily trend is your friend, and until we change daily trends on longer term names, or I should say bigger names, Bigger Canadian MJ names. Until we change the daily trend, absolutely nothing is going to change in this sector. That's step number one to seeing any kind of shift, and that's what we're watching for. So we'll check back in tomorrow. Hope you're well, do good things, ending with some more Asheville meetup stuff, and we're planning a winter Caribbean meetup. See you tomorrow.